All right, I'm here with actor Marcin Paluch, who was just on an episode of Gotham. If you recognize him, he didn't end up faring very well because he
No.
was a little drunk and making fun of Robin Lord Taylor's character's mom, who was on stage. But thank you for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
When did you first decide you wanted to become an actor?
Well, I started acting when I was a kid. I think like most actors do, doing plays and musicals in school. And I was an athlete growing up as well. So I know those two things I was going to either go do. Was either go play professional soccer or be an actor. Went to college, played soccer, didn't act in college, and then obviously didn't come into fruition. And then after college for a couple years, I actually did door-to-door sales. Which was okay. I made a living for 4 or 5 years and paid off some car payments and so forth and so on. But I think it was just one night we were watching. I think it was Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, and I was just like, I don't like any. Like I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And my wife at the, was saying, you should try. Why not? And I took it seriously, and I quit my job the next day.
Wow.
I just made the leap and then thought, why not? And I did as a kid. I liked it. I thought I was good at it. So that's when it started, about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
And your first projects, I noticed there were horror films. Did you pursue those per se, or did you fall into it?
No, it's funny. Actually, the first projects I did were like student films and even doing background work for student films. I mean, it was literally a slow progression, doing extra work on student films, then getting a line in a student film, then supporting, and then getting leads in student films, then doing background work on TV shows and so forth and so on, and it just kind of grew. And I don't know how the horror thing happened where I hit like 3 films in a row.
Yeah.
It just happened. I didn't plan it. I liked the scripts, and I didn't want to complain, and I did the projects, and I loved them. So.
Now, I haven't seen them, but did you meet your maker in any of those?
One of them that's out on DVD right now. No, actually, I thought I was going to. I almost did. But no. But it's funny because in a lot, I actually do. I do.
Yeah.
I do end up underground, I guess you could say, in a lot of them. So, but not in the one that I did that I like the most.
And now you're based in New York, so you find yourself mostly going in for episodic work on television, like series like Gotham, or do you find that it's easier here in New York? Did you ever have a desire to move to LA?
I have a desire to move to LA, but I think it's a few years down the road. I remember when I started acting about 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't think there was as many series here in New York and stuff happening. People always used to say you're supposed to be in LA to really grow. But I think it's changed. I think they shoot just as many episodics here in New York as they do in LA. So I'm in no rush. I'd like to get a good foothold here in New York, and then be able to go to LA with some serious momentum and not have to go to LA and start over.
Right.
Because that's really what happens when you go to LA, unless you have agents that are bi-coastal and you can travel back and forth. I kind of go for everything, anything on camera, whether it be episodics. Most of my work has been indie films, which I love film and I want to continue doing film. But now I'm just trying to get a little bit more into TV because I like both. So most of my stuff on my resume is film, but I want to do TV as well.
Do you have a certain genre that you're more comfortable in, whether it be comedy
Drama.
or
Definitely drama. Yeah, I always play the drama. Everybody says that I should be in comedies, and I've done a few comedies, films again. Not that I'm 100% comfortable in them, but I would totally do them. But most of the stuff I do is dramatic type stuff. Yeah.
A lot of people say comedy is much harder to do because it's hard to just be funny.
That's the thing too, is because when you do something like drama or anything else, everybody's reaction to your performance is different. One person might like it, one person might feel this way, one person might feel that way, but there's some sort of feeling. In comedy, I feel it's like they either think it's funny or it's not.
Right.
And it's a lot of times you'll know whether it's funny or not, just reacting or just judging by how people react even on set or your coworkers and so forth and so on. So it's a lot. You got to be a lot more confident, and yeah, you just got to be a lot more confident to do comedy. So that's a goal, is to get better at it. So.
Yeah. Let's practice right now.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
be
do
funny.
I got to take more improv
On
classes.
camera, yeah, on camera, right
funny?
now. Just do it. No, busting you. There you go. That was funny. So, was there a project, which obviously you don't have to name, where you knew that the acting really clicked for you? And on the flip side of that, was there a project that you did that you were like, oh, why am I doing this?
I think my favorite project in terms of acting wise wasn't actually even a film or TV project. It was a show that I did off Broadway at Terry Schreiber Studios, because that's where I studied as well, called The Changing Room. It was a big cast. It was about 23 guys, and it was based on an English rugby team. Slice of life, so there was really no point to the play, but it was just 3 acts of what happens in the locker room before the game, at halftime, and then after the game. It's just the camaraderie of the guys and what happens, and that was my favorite acting experience, just because there was so many people that you were working with, and it was very wordy, so it was easy to tell if it was fake, and it never seemed like it was. It was always true, it was always real, every performance. And I think theater just in general, there was always something different going on in every night, which is nice because it felt real, not like it was just, I mean, obviously you got to hit a mark, you got to hit specific beats,
right.
But it was always different and different reactions from people. So that was my favorite experience, because I got to grow throughout those 2 hours in that play,
right.
And see how other people react. In terms of my least favorite experience, I don't think I have a least favorite experience. You know what I mean? I don't, because every experience takes me to the next one, and even if I don't like it, whether it's me and a director don't mesh the way I thought we would, or the script didn't come to light as much as I thought it would when I read it, as opposed to when we were shooting it, it's still, I would rather be doing it than not doing it, put it that way. I would rather be working than not working. So even if it's not as fun or not as exciting, or I'm not meshing as well with other people, it doesn't matter. I'm working, I'm happy to do it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Now, you brought up theater, and you also said about the audience. What's it like for you to be in front of a different crowd every night, where your film and TV appearances, where obviously people can watch on DVR, but you're not getting feedback? What was that like, getting different feedback every night, or slow night, or really hepped up night where the audience is really into it? How do you deal with that?
I think it kind of goes back to like the comedy thing. It's in theater, when stuff's working, when stuff's not working. But I think if you're really in the moment, and you're working through the play, paying attention and responding truthfully, there's times you hear noise, but you're so into what you're doing on stage that it doesn't matter if because it's funny, because sometimes, we'll meet people that come to the play, for example, after the show, in the lobby or in the dressing rooms, and you think that it didn't work that night, or something didn't go, or hey, the moment that was supposed to be funny wasn't funny, or was supposed to be very heartwarming, people were laughing at, you're like, it didn't work out. But then when you talk to the people after the show, they're like, that was my favorite moment, I love this. Everybody reacts differently to something.
Absolutely.
What you think might be funny, somebody else might not laugh, but think it's funny, and vice versa. So I think if you're in the moment, it doesn't really matter, how the crowd reacts to it.
Right.
As long as you're truthful and what, if the director said it worked at the end of the show, then it worked.
Yeah, gotta listen to him, right? So, being an actor, you have to have a tough skin. How do you deal with the rejection of not being cast in something, or is it simply something you say, you know what, I wasn't right for the part, I didn't have the look, or whatever, and you just kind of move on from it?
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest challenge of being an actor. Is having a tough skin and learning to take a lot of no's in the chin. Acting is getting rejected 98% of the time. Not that I'm gonna say I was fortunate enough, but like I said in the beginning of the interview, I did door-to-door sales for 4 or 5 years, so I could take a lot of rejection. But I think it's just, if you have a plan, and if you have actual goals, and you celebrate small victories, then the no's don't hurt so much.
Right.
And you're gonna get no's, so you have to, at least the way I look at it, is go into auditions and situations with meeting people where you're gonna get a no. So your job is just to go in there and do your best job, and maybe they tell you yes, but I kind of go in there knowing that, hey, there's probably 500 people auditioning for this, or submitting for this role, and there's probably 30 people auditioning. I'm probably not gonna get it. That's one out of a 500 chance.
Right.
So what can I do myself that'll make me proud at the end of the audition? Did I nail what I prepared to do? Did I answer my questions in the interview part with the casting director or the agent at the end? So it's just knowing that you're gonna get rejected all the time, and not letting it bother, and celebrate the small victories when you do get something. Makes it a lot easier to deal with that.
Perfect. That was actually was going to ask you to offer advice to people, but you just kind of hit that nail on the head.
Have goals and celebrate. It's funny. I was actually 2 days ago. I was sitting on the train and I was looking through my calendar, January and February, and I started putting stars on my calendars for all like the small victories I had. Landing a job, doing a great job with an agent. There was when an episode of Gotham came out, and I got to sit there and watch it with my family. That's a small victory, you know what I mean? So you have to celebrate that, and you have to put it in certain places around your room or somewhere where you look a lot, so it keeps constantly reminding you of that. And that's not just in acting. I think in everything you do in life, that'll help. That'll help.
Absolutely. Small victories are
that's
what
it.
you should strive
That's
for.
my motto. Small victories.
Small victories end up being a fulfilled life.
Absolutely. Whether it's next week, next month, next year, or 5 years down the road, small things lead to big things. So,
Marcin, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with me.
No problem.
And look forward to your future projects.
Great. Thank you. Small victories.
You heard it here first. It's patented.
That's right.
Trademarked.